Morning in Sarajevo. The cloud is lifting over the city. We almost died in our Yugo last night, so we decided to give it a rest and trade up for our fixers, Chevy Reveo. So you can see, the choice has made all the difference. We're automotively living in the lap of luxury right now.
This is our fixer, Elvis. He's blind in one eye, which kind of makes him look like a Bosnian David Bowie. He's also wrecked 3 cars in the week we've known him.
Our engine is smoking.
Yeah, I was wondering where all this mist came from.
It's like a fog machine.
I did it for you.
Son of a bitch.
There it goes.
Before the Serbs turned it into Hogan's Alley in the 90s, Sarajevo was an extremely modern European city. It's also the biggest Muslim city in Europe, though most residents are Muslims the same way like New Yorkers or Jews or Christians. They go to mosque for prayers and holidays, but that's about it. All the men have shaved faces, most people drink, ladies wear jeans, it's relaxed. While the majority of Sarajevans and really Bosnians in general are sort of Friday Muslims, Islam is still a really big deal. During the wars, the Bosniak Muslims became a cause célèbre in the Arab world, with countries like Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan sending money for humanitarian aid, and even funneling Mujahideen fighters in to lend a hand, all of which is basically a push to increase Arab influence in the region and stoke a national religious revival, which naturally would play into places like Saudi Arabia's political interests. This mega mosque in Sarajevo was built entirely with Saudi money. It's also on the grounds of the Saudi embassy, which technically means it's on Saudi Arabian soil. And obviously the crowd here looks a little different from the congregation across town.
So our goal right now is to see if we can meet some local Muslims and figure out what's going on and figure out why they're more kind of into Islamic identity and, by possible extension, extremist Islamism than their parents' generation. Or if that's true at all.
Narod je dugo živio ovdje u vremenu komunizma, znači dali su im nešto od vjere, evo hođe kad bude trebalo umru da se ukopaju, nešto se prouči i to je to. Snimke imamo snimke, imamo slike sa čaršije gdje su sve žene nose nikab i to je vjerski propis.
How hard is it to keep up the faith like in this environment?
Što se tiče stvari, da li je teško praktikovati din, Allahov vjeru, naravno da nije nimalo teško nama obavljati ono što je uzvišeni Allah azza ve džel nama naredio da obavljamo. Međutim, što se tiče okoline i ljudi s kojima mi živimo, koji su puni predrasuda prema nama, koji su pod uticajem propagandnih medija, raznih danas, gdje se serviraju razne informacije, naravno. Činjenica je da ovdje ljudi ne poznaju islam, znači.
Sarajevo and Bosnia's other big cities aren't exactly seedbeds of fundamentalist Islam, at least not yet. But there's a village in the north of the country called Gornja Maoca that adheres to strict Wahhabi Islam. The men there have beards, the women wear full niqab. It's kind of quaint. Well, quaint in the way that Western newspapers describe with things like Afghanistan and Europe and a potential terrorist training camp. The residents of Gornja Maoca aren't super receptive to this criticism, or really the media in general. Actually, almost every camera crew who's gone to visit them has been driven out of the village. In addition to just bad press, Gornja Maoca has also been raided by the local and national police numerous times. In 2010, the Bosnian DA's office sent 600 officers to the village to search for guns and evidence of terrorist activity. We were nervous about swinging by the village unannounced. However, our fixer Elvis spent the previous month hanging out with the Gornja Maorcans at noontime prayers and has kind of become buds with some of the younger guys there. Which hopefully means we can stop by and have a nice pleasant chat without having rocks thrown at our heads.
Yeah, drop it down. Camera down and rolling.
Alright.
To show our goodwill, or at least what we hoped would be perceived as goodwill, we left the camera in the backseat of the car and got out to wait for the villagers to finish their afternoon prayers.
We don't want to look around, right?
We did take a live microphone with us, though, which may have been a slightly bad move.
He wants to know who you are.
Listen to us.
What do you want? What do you need?
We wanted to know if we could talk to them.
Interesuje da li mogu razgovarati s vama.
Čemu se radi? Šta razgovaramo?
What is it about? What do you want to talk about?
We want to know about their lifestyle, about how the village works.
Interesuje vaš način života i način na koji...
That revving, by the way, is the village leader, who's probably pushing 70, pulling up on his Harley. I cannot describe how awesome he looked.
Do you tape? Did you tape it?
Not right now.
Nothing.
No.
Ne provjeri,
Check.
Same.
Is this GPS?
No.
No.
Imaš ti šta uzeo se
Do
pitanje?
you have any recording devices on you?
Ovo ga snimlja.
No.
We have
Reci, da više niste
Ne znam koji je poslovan.
And do not show
Ti voj
up.
sala, nemoj da više došlo ovdje, čuo. Sad govor.
And that goes for me as well.
Okay, we're sorry.
You have to leave.
Please apologize.
Žele da se izvini.
Razumijem.
Znamo.
Kad budu razloženi da sve islam i to, da se mogu...
And be with us here as a
Right.
Muslim, then come
Then
here.
we can. Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you, and we're
And
sorry.
that, I want you to tell that to all you know.
Okay.
Nikad više ni stanje već verni.
Okay. And that's somebody you'd never talked to.
No, I never met that guy before.
Okay.
I believe this guy is their boss. He just died. He was never there, present, at the mosque when I was
Right.
there. This was really a strange moment.
Yeah. This is not good. We just got here before afternoon prayer, and this angry dude came up and told him he had to leave and picked up rocks, which maybe he just picks up rocks, but I don't know. I saw that as kind of provocative, sort of like picking up ammo. We're trying to regroup right now. We're back at the Serbian cemetery. This will be very disappointing if we aren't able to talk to anybody. Especially because more and more I learn about these people, the less, wouldn't say I'm on their side, but the more I kind of respect them being off on their own and doing this shit. Fuck. Since it didn't seem like we were getting back in with the Wahhabis, we decided to hang out with their closest Muslim neighbors, the Bosnian Eugene Merman and his lovely wife. Do you have many interactions with the people from that village?
Korektni su, nikoga ne diraju, niko njih nek ne dira, ali da ne vole drugu vjeru, da vole samo islam, to nije tačno.
Okay. One of the reasons we know about this village is that there have been the police has come up here a couple times. They haven't found anything. Were you here?
Tu je došlo auta toliko da čitava Bosna se sabrala tu, misli su, nisu našli ništa. Ali ja sam tu, ja sve znam situaciju, nemaju, gdje će on doći, da on tu drži navodno nekakve obuke, daje. Ja sam lovac, ja vodam po ovim šumama sve bi znao da ima nešto, ja sam prvi protiv toga, protiv terorizma, protiv koje kakvih stvari, ali...
Oni ne vjeruju, pogotovo ako je američka televizija, znaš, poznato je to, Islam, Amerika, u Americi svaki film, teroristi, islamski fundamentalisti, razumijete? I onda su oni uvijek u strahu od toga, vas da su oni jadni neki, a nisu. Mislim,
sve oni su ocrnjeni navodno da su oni uzrok čitavoj situaciji u Bosni i Hercegovini, nije tačno. Ja sam musliman i ne stidim se toga. Treba istinu pričati, istinu govoriti sad. Oni ako se opredijeli da se pridržavaju više vjeri islamu i što više klanjaju, što se obraćaju Bogu, to je njihovo.
Despite being walked out of the village by bearded men with rocks in their hands, the more we learned about Gornja Maoca, the more sympathetic we became to its wacky Wahhabist residents. Then 2 months later, one of those guys shot up the U.S. Embassy with an assault rifle, which seems a little off. So what have we learned in the Balkans? My generation grew up ingrained with the idea that things like ethnic and racial and religious differences were ultimately just bullshit. The Balkans and the wars in the 90s is kind of a centerpiece of this way of thinking. We'll acknowledge that they have different cultures and they live in different geographies, but we think about it the same way we think of people from different states, sort of like Americans versus Canadians. We say, hey, they look the same, so what's the frickin' problem? As if that's some sort of solution. But the ethnic differences aren't what actually matters. It's the way people have internalized these differences and the way they've been doing so for 1,000 very messy years. This isn't unique to the Balkans either. There isn't something intrinsic about Serbs and Croats that makes them hate each other. Ditto Bosnians. What's really kind of scary is what happened here in the 90s could happen seriously anywhere on Earth. We're all just simmering pots of rage and intolerance waiting for an excuse to brutalize each other like fucking ape men. That's the real lesson of Yugoslavia. That and none of these clowns have any business making cars.